Hey, Phil.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
All right. All right. Well, perfect. It's just after 6, so we'll get this thing going. So welcome everybody to a 90-second beer review happy hour. I'm very excited to have a special guest today. We have Phil Helm. He is the co-owner and head brewer of Blackfire Brewing in Raleigh, North Carolina. Phil, thanks for joining us and taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm really zoomed in on your screen here. I'm trying to not show you my nostrils.
No worries. No worries at all.
Yeah.
So Phil, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things related to Blackfire and your brewing. But you and your wife, Shannon, who's also the co-owner of Blackfire, were nice enough to come by yesterday and drop off some Blackfire beers. Love these can designs with the dragon and the dragon scales.
Thank you. That was all Shannon.
And we're going to be drinking something very seasonally appropriate tonight. So I'm going to pour a beer. Why don't you tell us what we're drinking and give us a little background on it?
Yes, sir. So I'm drinking the same thing as you, so we'll cheers.
Cheers. Hold on. I'm pouring right now.
So we're drinking a winter spiced ale. The name of this beer is Once Bitten Spiced Shy. This is cheers. The winter spiced ale is exactly as it's described. It's a winter beer with a little nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, ginger. It's got a really malty backbone. It's holiday in a glass. I've heard it described.
No, it absolutely is, and you get all of that. You really get the ginger, you get the cinnamon, but it's not, first of all, it's not overpowering ABV wise. I feel like a lot of winter spiced ales you get these days are like 8% or higher.
Yeah.
And they start taking on a little bit of a syrupy element to them. But this is great. I mean, 6.1%. It's got a lot of that holiday spice character. This is getting me ready for later this week.
Good. Yeah, that's the idea. Definitely.
So Phil, why don't you give everybody kind of a quick overview on yourself and Blackfire Brewing and just what they need to know.
Sure. Yeah. So Shannon and I started this brewery. We opened in October, but we've been in this space since last November trying to get open. COVID kind of slowed us down a little bit back in the spring. Mm-hmm. But we really started as home brewers, like a lot of breweries, and felt like, Shannon has a pretty severe gluten allergy, and I'm mildly sensitive myself. So we felt like we could provide more of a variety and offerings and give somebody with gluten sensitivity a full craft experience without shortchanging them. There aren't a lot of options out there for people that are gluten sensitive. So we have stouts, lagers, IPAs, specialty beers, all gluten removed, so that somebody with issue can come and enjoy a full palate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome, and it's definitely unique. I definitely had to do some reading on my own to kind of dive into the little bit of the gluten-free, gluten-removed kind of topic and understand it a little bit more. And we definitely need to spend some time talking about that. I guess stepping back for a minute. So you guys started as home brewers. How long were you at it before you felt comfortable kind of going pro and open up a commercial brewery?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you ever feel like you're there. People, the term brewmaster is thrown around, but I don't know that I would ever call myself that. It's, brewing beer is something that you're always striving for that perfect beer. And, as a complete critic for myself, I don't know that I feel like I've ever really gotten there. But, it's a fun experience, and brewing beer is just something that, we're passionate about. So yeah, we started in the garage, just like a lot of different breweries. And we started, I used to host poker nights in my garage, and I'd give away beer. I had my kegerator, and actually my homebrew kegerator is built into our bar at the brewery. So it's a full extent.
All right, we'll give it a minute. I think Phil's connection maybe have winked out for a second there.
Starting a business together, and we threw out several ideas that just kind of fizzled, and once I started getting homebrewing and we heard that, we kind of had this light bulb moment where we said, yeah, we think we can do something with this.
Yeah. So you guys started out, so you said you've been in the space since November of 2019. Obviously that was before the world changed a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what you guys were thinking, kind of what happened when COVID hit, things started shutting down, and you're in the middle of opening a brewery that has a tap room on site and was really intended to be a place that people could go and visit.
Yeah, that was definitely it was tough, and we lamented over that a lot, and quite honestly, both of us had those moments where we said, geez, are we really doing the right thing here? Thankfully, we started this process back in October, November last year, and we were probably 6 months into it at that point, and we both had invested a considerable amount of time and mental energy and just money in general, and we felt like we could still do this even after that pandemic hit. It did slow us down, but you can't. The pandemic would have just been an excuse for not opening. So we really felt like, we've got a product, we've got, we think, a market, the gluten sensitive market that is really untapped in this area. And we feel like we've got something that once the pandemic eventually subsides and people are either able or feel comfortable coming out again, we feel like we've got something that really could sustain us.
Absolutely. And I guess from a business model perspective, do you guys have to make any significant changes there? I know you guys are already canning, which is not many breweries are canning this early on in the process. I guess that's maybe changing a little bit these days, but kind of how did you guys kind of sit down and maybe tweak the plan to work in the world that we're currently dealing with?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know that we really did. Our plan has always been our plan. Mm-hmm. It has been, we want to offer a full palette to folks that are sensitive. We want to be able to offer cans to go. We debated some about whether we should start off with cans, but we felt like it was an important thing, especially with the growth of craft beer in this area and really the country. Cans are a huge part of what people do. And then that really was kind of enhanced when the pandemic hit. We said, geez, if nobody can come to our tap room, what are we going to do? And we felt like, we really had to do this to get going.
I mean, and thankfully, North Carolina is one of those states where they'll allow you to self-distribute a little bit and kind of hopefully helps you get into some of these bottle shops and some of these other retail outlets around the area a little bit faster than maybe it would be in other states where you'd have to go through that distributor network.
Yeah. So I think you showed the can a second ago. So this is the, so what you have, I think
we'll do a comparison. We've got the.
Yeah. So, and then this one you can see at the top, it says crafted to remove gluten. So it's essentially the same label. These are our blank labels. We've got our regular beers, they'll have the regular print on them, but So that the key difference is there at the top, it says crafted to remove gluten. So the same as the draft experience, you'll get the same can experience as someone who just drinks regular beer if you are sensitive.
Absolutely. And so I think this is a perfect jumping off point to dive into the gluten topic. It's definitely something that sets you guys apart. So explain to us, what is gluten removed and how is that done?
Sure. So that the key thing to understand is that beer can be made in a couple of ways. One is gluten-free. So gluten-free is, I made a beer with grains that never contained gluten from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So grains like sorghum, rice, millet, quinoa, corn, you can make, quote, beer with those. Mm-hmm. And, they taste okay. Mm-hmm. I've never been a fan of those. But if you're a really strong celiac, that may be your only option. Mm-hmm. So that's gluten-free. Gluten removed is, we make the beer exactly the same way that we do the regular beer. And at yeast pitch, we add an enzyme, and that enzyme breaks up the gluten proteins in the beer and removes them. Okay. So then we also test every batch of gluten removed so that we're sure that the parts per million of gluten in the beer is below 20. Mm-hmm. Now, we actually take that a step further. We use food grade test kits. Okay. So our food grade test kits intended for food, so larger particles have to test a much lower threshold of gluten. So our test kits actually test around 2 parts per million instead of 20. Okay. So if our beer passed the test, and so far all of them have, except for the Imperial Stout did not, but that's okay.
There's we want to make sure in that to
yeah,
gluten out of.
yeah. So that the key there to understand is that since my wife is very sensitive and I'm somewhat sensitive, we want to make sure that 100% it tests below levels that are acceptable for people to drink.
Sure. And so, is there some sort of regulation or specific kind of, label or standard that is kind of regulated for gluten removed? And kind of what does that mean for people that are out there, that have gluten sensitivities that are trying to, buy gluten removed or gluten free beers that they feel will not get them sick?
Sure. Yeah, there actually is. We cannot call our beer gluten-free, mm-hmm. even though it drops below that FDA 20 parts per million threshold. And that's because we started with grains that never contained gluten from the beginning. Sure. So yeah, we have to call it gluten removed, or the other term is gluten reduced. Sure. We have to use those words both in the tap room and on our cans because we started with regular barley and wheat grains that contain gluten.
Sure, and I'm guessing that kind of similar to that, you kind of have to be careful about what kind of health claims or things you make around it, just because there is that whole range of, gluten intolerance and then straight to celiac disease, which I'm guessing is a much harder kind of hurdle to pass. I would imagine that a lot of celiacs would be scared of even trying gluten removed, given how significant their disease is.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And we preface everything by saying that every celiac is different. Every gluten sensitive person is different. Mm-hmm. And we have had celiacs come in and drink our beer and they were fine. Mm-hmm. But you always have to preface everything by saying, everybody's different. Sure. If you think you might have an issue, you probably shouldn't drink it. But because of the testing that we do, we feel like if it's someone that, you know, wouldn't get violently ill from an episode like that, it should be okay for most people with that sensitivity to drink.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really important too, right? It's definitely a helpful thing to have out there, and it probably allows a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise be able to enjoy, you know, normal beer to get access to it. But it you know, like with any of these things, it's none of it's foolproof. I mean, even I'm lactose intolerant. Some things work, some things don't. But you know, it's up to every individual person. So going back to the technical part of this, so all right, so you're pitching this enzyme into the primary fermentation on this, and is it so it's a completely separate batch from your normal beer, or are you doing kind of one kettle and then splitting it off? How does that work functionally in the brew house?
Yeah, so exactly like you just said, I've got a larger fermenter and a smaller fermenter, and so far we've seen that the bulk of our customers are drinking the regular, and we've got a subset that are drinking gluten removed. We hope that changes over time, but right now, so they're all of the. So if you're familiar with brewing, the wort, right? The bulk of the wort goes in the primary fermenter, and then a subset of that wort will go into the smaller fermenter, and that smaller fermenter gets the enzyme.
Okay.
So it's the exact same wort when you start out, exact same yeast, everything is the same. It's just that separate fermenter, that smaller fermenter gets the enzyme. And then we also have our entire system is separate. So our gluten-removed beer will have separate fermenters. It will have separate kegs. It will have separate draft lines. So all of those things will hopefully help prevent cross-contamination as well.
Absolutely. So in some ways, it sounds almost like, you know, running a brewery where you've got kind of the clean beer setup and then kind of the wild or sour beer, and you've got to have absolutely intense cleaning and controlled processes to make sure you don't have cross-contamination that's unintended in there. So when you guys are splitting this off now, you're doing, I think, two different things, right? You're pitching the enzyme to break down the gluten, and you're doing two different size fermenters. Have you found, as you guys kind of dialed in some of these recipes and test out the process, do you have to do anything else to kind of control for it to make sure that they're, you know, hitting final gravity right around the same time and that you're ending up with, you know, functionally the same beer? Is it pretty an easy process kind of getting to that point?
They're really, we do absolutely nothing different on the back end. Everything is exactly the same. And we've never seen that our gravity numbers are any different between the regular and the gluten removed. They're always exactly the same.
Wow.
So no issues there, and no additional effort.
You know, obviously there's so much chemistry going on during that primary fermentation. There's all these different interactions happening. The fact that the enzyme doesn't change that is pretty phenomenal.
We think that, you know, the taste difference is negligible, and they should taste almost identical. You should not be able to tell the difference between them.
Sure. So I guess talking more generally about Blackfire and the beer that you guys are brewing, I guess, you know, outside of the gluten piece of it, are there any specific influences that you have as a brewer, as a drinker, whether it's certain styles, a certain beer culture that you guys kind of gravitate towards for a lot of your beer?
Yeah, I mean, you're a beer drinker.
Yeah.
And so am I. And I love all different kinds of beer. There's almost nothing I won't drink. Everything is, you know, every beer has its own profile and its own character and its own mouthfeel, and it's just a pleasure to be able to do all those different things. So we don't have anything where we say, okay, we're going to bank ourselves on hazy IPAs, or we're going to bank our soup. We don't do that. I brew what I like and what I think our customers will like. So some of the things we've done so far, probably my favorite beer is a stout. I love stouts. I could drink a stout all day, every day. And I like, in particular, I like sweet stouts. I like flavored stouts. So we have had, since we opened, we had a cherry stout to open. We had an orange stout, which you have a couple of cans of that as well.
I am looking forward to try. That is a less common flavor additive that I've seen in a lot of stouts these days. And I did see that you guys released or just came out with the mint stout, which is another one that's a little bit less common, but it's very clear that's where your heart lies.
I do love some flavored stouts. I've got a couple more in the pipeline that, you know, somebody might say, wow, you're doing that. But that's kind of my, you know, if you were going to ask me what my favorite was or what I like to brew, it's definitely a stout. But, you know, I also love IPAs. Everybody loves IPAs.
Yep.
Our IPAs and really, you know, all of our beers are really smooth. We don't have that kind of bitter, punch you in the face, puckery. And you have one of the IPAs, so you can see for yourself there. Our beers are smoother, and that's the way I like them, and that's the way our customers like them as well. I get a lot of comments about how smooth they are.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the cool evolutions in craft beer. You know, when I started drinking craft beer, the trend at the time was how bitter can we make this thing, and it was almost like a macho contest to see if you could finish a full one.
Right.
And now, you know, and I think a lot of people over time gravitated away from kind of the West Coast super hoppy, super bitter beers because of that. They weren't very drinkable. I mean, they were tongue-scrapingly bitter. And now you come back around, and even people that aren't brewing the hazy, juicy IPAs, they're making these West Coast IPAs that are perfectly balanced, that have a little bit of that bitterness, but they've got some tropical fruit juiciness or something else going on in there to kind of smooth things out and make it a more sessionable, crushable kind of beer. Which I think it's better. It's better for craft beer drinkers. I think it's better for the industry because, you know, how many cases can you really sell of the stuff that people can maybe drink one can of before they have to take a break?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of the mentality we have here is, you know, the beers should be drinkable. It should be smooth. You should enjoy it as you drink it. You shouldn't have to, you know, do one of these numbers when you're drinking it. So yeah, that's a big thing for us.
Absolutely. And so now that you are on the pro side of things and you have a commercial brewery, when you think about kind of the beer list and kind of how you progress through the year, is the goal of Blackfire, you're going to have some flagships that are around year round and then kind of rotate through seasonals? Or is it going to be kind of one of those situations where everything's going to be rotating based on just kind of what you want to drink at the time and what you think is going to be kind of most exciting for your customers?
Yeah, so we are going to have our Mexican lager, the Lummy Two Limes. You have a can of that. Yes, my wife is handing me a can of that. So this is our Mexican lager. It's really easy to drink, about 4.9%. Really smooth, and we'll probably have that on tap for the foreseeable future. It's a really easy drinking. It's kind of that, you know, that gateway into craft beer, right? It's really easy to drink. It's a light beer, but for the rest of them, you know, we have 4 taps right now. Well, technically we have 8 because we have the 4 regulars and the 4 gluten removes. Those should essentially rotate. We'll probably rotate through those about once a month or so, depending on the production schedule. But yeah. So we have had the beer that you have, the Centennial IPA, for a little bit, and we're going to be rotating out We're going to have a Mosaic IPA coming up probably mid-January.
Okay.
So the Spiced Ale, that is actually, we've burned through that almost entire batch. This draft that I'm drinking, there's probably only about 6 of these left.
Oh wow.
The rest of them are in cans. So we have a brown ale that's going to be coming up in the first part of January that will replace that. The mid stout, I'll have a blackberry porter coming up next that will replace that. So it's just going to kind of rotate through those 3, and then we'll keep the Mexican lager on tap for the time being.
Absolutely. So you mentioned,
and we also have a ginger lager. It's a variant on the Mexican lager.
Okay.
Be a ginger lime version, and that'll be out at first week of January.
Oh, very cool. So give it a little bit of like ginger spice to kind of pick it up.
Yeah. And we'll start doing more variants too. That, the IPA, I've got a recipe for a jalapeno one that we'll do a variant. The other one is a coffee IPA. That's not as popular across the craft beer landscape, but that's another variant that we will do as well.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned that there's a brown ale coming up, and your wife had mentioned this to me a couple of days ago, and I find it really fascinating because you don't see that many kind of straight ahead traditional brown ales brewed anymore. I mean, there's the handful of breweries that are out there that are known for a certain brown ale. But I mean, even in this area, I mean, there's only a handful of breweries that are really releasing a brown ale. So kind of I'm just curious, like with a brown ale, how do you think about putting one together that's kind of a straightforward brown ale that differentiates it from some of the other darker beers that might be on the menu at any given time?
Yeah, so you're right. The brown ales are not all that popular out there, but I'll tell you, I've mentioned the brown ale is coming up to a few people, and people's eyes light up. Because just like you said, right, it's not, you don't see it that often in craft breweries. Our brown ale is an American brown ale, so the IBUs, I think they're about 45. So it's a little bit higher than maybe an English brown, but we also dry hop our brown.
Oh, right.
So there'll be a little bit of we dry hop it with Cascade, so there'll be a little bit of hop aroma. It'll be really subtle, but yeah. So that's kind of our brown is it's kind of a souped up American.
Yeah, I mean, I love brown ales, and it's tough to find it. I mean, yeah, you see some nut brown ales and things like that out there that do all right, but it doesn't have for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to have the marketing pizzazz of a hazy IPA these days or a fruity.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I've got a couple of recipes for hazies. I have not yet made one. It's on the list. I'm along with a bunch of other things that people have suggested to me. Hey, you should make a hazy, or you should make a sour, or you should make so those are on the list of things to eventually get into the production schedule.
Absolutely. So one of the things I wanted to touch on is I know that there's a big music influence to Blackfire. It's in the logo. You have the where is it on here on the can? We've got the "We Like to Rock" on the back.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's right.
And a lot of music inspired names for the beers. And that's, I think, something we're seeing more and more these days in the craft beer universe. Just kind of curious, what kind of music are you guys using as influence here? And, kind of how do you think about kind of marrying that with what you're doing on the brewing side?
Yeah, so really the music influence is just kind of an extension of us. We both love music a lot. And if we're at home, cooking dinner, or we're in the car, or we're at the brewery, there'll always be music going. We're brewing that Mosaic tomorrow, and there'll be some 80s rock blasting back there while we're brewing. But yeah, it's something that we both feel passionate about, and it's kind of an extension of us. Coming up with the names is a lot of fun. I probably have as much fun doing that as brewing beer. So yeah, we're both middle-aged parents, and so it's our music influence is heavily 80s and 90s. Some rock, some metal, some hip hop. There'll be all kinds of influences in there, and it's a lot of fun. People come in and they either say they love the names, or they say, "What song is that?" And so it's a fun little, people. You quiz people when they come in about the names.
Yeah, I say, and I'm sure that those are really good kind of eras of music to embarrass your kids with, because I'm sure they have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Oh yeah. Actually, our kids, they've listened to it so much that they like it now. My 9-year-old son says, "Turn on some Def Leppard." So that's
just a
good stuff.
Parenting. I mean.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I have to ask that I have seen this on 1 or 2 occasions. I know there were a couple of breweries that have messed around with during fermentation, blasting the fermenters with music, and there have been some, I'd say, unsubstantiated claims made that changes the beer. Have you tried it? Do you want to try it? Do you believe it that it would change the beer at all?
Until you just said that, I had no idea that was a thing at all. I have not tried that, but now that you mention it, maybe that might be a good test batch, a good pilot batch. Kind of blast some Metallica or something right against the fermenter and see what happens.
I would say the claims that I saw were that the sound waves and the vibrations of the music on the fermenter changed the way that the yeast worked its way through the beer. I don't know that I believe it. It's a very funny, kind of cool marketing hook for a beer, but it seems like a natural play for Blackfire.
Yeast is a living organism, so it's entirely possible that those are true.
You just got to find the right strain that likes 80s rock and hip hop. So
get one that's about 45 years old.
Oh, okay, good. So you got to go through a couple of generations of the culture.
That's right.
So you guys have been open now since October, and obviously it is an unusual time, but kind of what have you guys been seeing in terms of people coming in to either drink outside the tap room, or just come to get stuff to go, or kind of going through the distribution channels? How are you guys finding success in a very unusual world right now to get your beer out there?
Yeah, I mean, really, our success is we put this brewery together on a budget. Our system is really kind of a souped up homebrew system, and our mentality through the whole process was, let's make sure we don't go and accumulate copious amounts of debt trying to get open. Thankfully, we did not have to do that. But our model is really, come and everybody's welcome. We love to chat and make everybody feel like they're part of this. And people that are gluten sensitive or not gluten sensitive can drink beers in harmony and don't have to sit at separate tables like the prom, right? It's everybody can sit together, and we have an outdoor space. We've got several picnic tables. We've got music and cornhole, and we've got food trucks pretty much every Saturday. So we really just want to be part of the community and build up a following, with both regular and gluten sensitive beer drinkers.
Yeah.
We're at this point, we're only open Saturdays and Sundays. In January, we're going to start being open on Fridays, so we'll have an extra day for people to come out and hang out and drink beer and be part of Blackfire.
I think that's awesome. And again, I mean, I think the gluten part of it just kind of shows the effort that you guys are willing to go through to try to make this more inclusive. And I think that's a lot of what, you know, the craft beer community is really all about, is trying to be as inclusive as possible. So we're getting close to the end of 2020. We're looking down the barrel of 2021, which will hopefully be a much better year for everybody. What's in the plans for 2021? What should people be looking forward to about Blackfire Brewing in 2021?
Yeah, so we're playing around with some online ordering right now. We're probably going to have launched that sometime in January. So that'll be a nice thing to be able to order cans, you know, kind of a contactless way to pick up beers. And really, the main thing is, you know, look for our beers, right? We're going to rotate a whole bunch of different flavors. We'll make it fun. Every beer is going to have a, you know, a cool 80s or 90s themed name, and you can try to figure that out. We'll probably grow our distribution channels. We're in Bottle Rev Apex right now, and we're on tap at one place, North Hills Club. And so we'll probably start to grow those distribution channels in 2021 as well. Just really just overall growth, increasing the number of batches that we have, increasing the variance, and growing our distribution, and allowing customers to purchase cans of beer online.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, look, I think we're all looking forward to a better year, and you know I'm personally looking forward to seeing Blackfire beer in more stores and on more taps. And you know, once I'm looking forward to coming checking out the tap room. So
yeah, we'd love to have you. Come on down whenever you can.
I'm excited to come as soon as I get this sling off where I can get out and talk a little bit. I am ready. So I'm getting close to the end of this delicious spiced ale. You mentioned the tap room hours. You mentioned a little bit about the retail. Tell everybody where the Blackfire Brewing tap room is, how they can get in touch with Blackfire Brewing and find the beer, so that everybody can give it a try.
Sure, yeah. So we're at 2043 Progress Court in Raleigh. We're right next to there are several breweries around us. We're right across the railroad tracks from Linwood Brewing. We're 2 doors down from where the old Sub Noir was. So yeah, 2043 Progress Court. What else? What's that? Off East Whitaker Mill Road. Yeah. So near the Snoopies. You can come on down, and our tap room is open Saturday and Sunday. In January, it's going to start being open Friday.
But closed this weekend for the holidays, right?
You're right. That's a good point. Yep, we're closed this weekend. Get some family time, get some R&R, and get recharged and get ready for January. Our website is blackfirebrewing.com. My wife Shannon is banging it on social media, so you can find updates all the time on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. We have our food truck schedule, we have our beer release schedule, our future releases. So yeah, social media is a big thing for us, and you can find us if you're looking for us.
Absolutely, that sounds great. Well, Phil, thank you very much.
Oh, and Untapped, don't forget. Go check it on Untapped.
Can't forget the check-in.
That's right.
Phil, thank you so much for taking the time today. For everybody that's watching, go check out Blackfire Brewing, another great local brewery. We always want to support our local independent craft breweries. I am Howard Sider. I'm the co-founder of 90 Second Beer Review. If you're watching this, you're probably already on 90 Second Beer Review on Instagram. You can also catch us at 90secondbeerreview.com. And for those of us that have been following on Instagram, you may have seen some announcements recently, but we do have the Pints of Love Virtual Craft Beer Festival coming Valentine's Day weekend 2021. You can follow the link in our bio to the link tree to get tickets there. You can also go to 90secondbeerreview.com. We hope to be doing some more of these Instagram live happy hours and really just getting to know some of our favorite local craft breweries, giving everybody a chance to meet the people behind their favorite beers. So Thanks again, Phil. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a great night. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. Much appreciated, buddy. We'll look forward to seeing you at Blackfire.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good night.
Have a good one.